So sharpness of your low register, and that's the whole thing too. Like you can just check the wires, thin out the tip a little bit, or make it darker, and especially the wire manipulation, which we'll talk about today. But the main important part of the whole three things is, does the reed vibrate? That's the important aspect. That's why you want to see about tonguing and how those two notes sag or not, and then if that's sharp. So, does the reed vibrate? That's what you want to know. You can't have sound without vibration, as sound is vibration of waves. Well, that's what music is. So, what you want to do is check those three notes. If you need to thin out a reed, just know, excuse me, when you thin out a reed, sag actually increases, which makes it less resilient. So, thinning decreases the resilience of the reed. And what that means is that when you thin out a reed, it doesn't actually vibrate as much, but it works because it vibrates a little and it actually frees it up a little bit. And the tip cutting, it actually does the opposite, where if you cut the tip, it increases the sharpness because it's shorter, and then it actually decreases the buzz. And that's why you have to thin it out all over again, because it doesn't vibrate. So that's our main aspect. Remember, there's three tests: tonguing, the two notes, and then how sharp is it in the low register. Okay, so moving on to wire manipulation. Now, what do I mean by wire manipulation? So after you check see how tight they are and if they're moving, push them back. And remember, we have that first wire and that second wire. So first wire, second wire. What we want to do, by changing the wires, by pressing on them, either top to bottom or side to side, that actually can help change very slightly how the reed sounds, by opening or closing the spine or the tips. Now, there's different combinations, and after I talk about this, I'll actually show this wonderful chart that I have that I didn't make, but that's what a book I found, The Art of Bassoon Playing. It has this great chart in it, and I'll show it on here after I talk about this. So there's different combinations, but the main principle is, and by manipulation, what I mean is that this is why you want to kind of have your pliers with you in practice, even though I normally don't. But you should have your pliers near your reeds at all times. What you can do is you can either press just a little, and there's just small pressings. It's not like a huge, it's really just a tiny little bit. I had a bad habit for a while, and so did Lisa, with using our teeth. It's actually really not a good idea, A, because you don't know how strong you're pushing down, and you can actually chip your teeth, which is not good. What we're going to do, wire manipulation. But we have to talk about something first. So normally when you think of first, should be first. No, not in the case of reeds. The first wire actually drastically changes everything. That is like a huge change. But what the first wire does, it controls the tip of the reed, which in turn controls the spine. So you want to be careful and not do too much. So that's actually your first wire you don't want to use unless it's an emergency or unless you're having these huge combos that are on the chart that I'll show you. The second wire is the one you want to always do first. The second wire is where subtle changes happen, and this controls the spine. And that's where we want to get that nice dark sound versus the closed nasal sound like this. We don't want that. We want a nice, beautiful, dark sound. So the second wire you always do first, and then you move towards the tip. Okay. So the basics are the first wire. Okay. So I'll do this in order. The second wire, if you did top to bottom, so you're looking on it, like if you're playing, and if you did the second wire top to bottom, this will actually open up the reed. So it'll make it a nice darker sound. And when you open up a reed, it actually increases the resilience, and it makes it a darker sound, like I said. Okay, so second wire top to bottom, it actually will open up the reed. If you do second wire from the sides, so here, and you go whoop, like this, that actually will close the reed up. When you close the reed, this decreases the resilience, but it will increase the tonguing a little bit because it'll close it, but it's only a little, so it'll be a little bit easier, but it makes it more nasally. So Second wire to the side closes the reed. So if you have the first wire and you actually go top to bottom, it closes the reed. So it's kind of opposite because remember you're working with the tip versus the spine. So second wire top to bottom opens the reed. First wire top to water closes the reed, especially the tip. It instantly goes whoop. That's not what you want. Sometimes you need just a little, but remember the first wire is really drastic versus the second wire is subliminal, like really subtle, not subliminal, subtle changes. So if we close the reed, it makes it less resistance, but it makes it sometimes a little easier to tongue. And so if you do the first wire from the sides, it actually will open the reed, making it very nice and dark. But remember, second wire you want to do first, and then the first wire, because then subtle versus drastic. And second wire is actually more of a quality of a type of sound versus the first wire is just like quantity, like, oh, I want this open. Okay, we're good. So, but when you do these, you kind of want the reed to be wet, and like say, you just dip the reed into water. A lot of people have water in their stands or their desk, whatever they use, and you just dip it in there, and then you can manipulate it. Okay. Here is the chart.